Do any of those charter orgs or friends of you guys pay anything or subsidize anything, or it's all, they're just a charter, they don't pay or help fund the troop?
It's up to them. So ours doesn't really give us a whole lot. They charter us, they pay the application fee, that's about it. Other charter organizations might donate.
Like a trailer. Some donate a trailer, some donate gear, some donate logo t-shirts and things, not.
Ours pays for all of our registrations, but we still make all of the kids and parents pay for registration so that we have some sort of fund. So that kind of doubles our efforts.
Tell them that the COR's paying also?
What's that?
You tell them
The
that
charter pays for everyone's registration
And that's,
at the recharter.
Who's your
that's,
charter?
At Savage Esplin and Radmall, it's an accounting firm, but they created a nonprofit so that we can have nonprofit status, and then that's easier to get fundraising when you can say, we're a 501c3. That was really hard to get during COVID.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, IRS was not on the ball on that. Not a
So-
priority.
so to that point, one of the biggest questions I had from people who were interested was, it's how much, I have to pay how much? Because none of the locals had ever paid a registration fee or any type of dues or anything. It was all paid, you know.
But they pay for soccer.
They pay for,
They
yeah.
pay for all the prom. They
Yeah,
pay-
exactly,
They
but-
pay everything.
And I tell them that, you know, my biggest thing is, hey, your kid's gonna have a better chance being an Eagle Scout than making a high school soccer team.
I love,
So,
I love this point because it
It's
goes
all
back to
ton
that,
of people
that
saying
point I made earlier. We have to, just like in the legal system, the burden of proof, where's the burden of proof? In the legal system, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, not the defense, right? We have the burden of proof. If we prove what we do, the benefits and all of this, then I think it'll be easier for people to do it. I make an analogy of mountain biking. So in southern Utah, mountain biking is huge. But 10 years ago, it wasn't. There was one team, it was a club team, and it was just a, you know, kind of an off thing. But it became so popular because it is fun and it was inclusive, and the youth could participate, they could compete, but it wasn't too competitive. It was co-ed. It was everything they really wanted. Now every high school in southern Utah has a team of over 100, 110. They had to cap it at 120 on the team. Now mountain bikes are not cheap, and it's not cheap to be part of this. But if they have the enthusiasm and it's giving them what they want, families will contribute. They will pay. If you put the cost of scouting against any sport, I mean, it's obvious how much less expensive it is. If you put it up to just a trip to Disney, Scout Camp versus Disneyland, no
I
comparison.
made that analogy to somebody the other day. That what it costs the three of us here compared to going
No
on
comparison.
vacation anywhere, hotel, and
Anywhere. But the burden of proof is on us. We've got to show. So that's why later we're going to talk about how do we market ourselves? How do we market this program? Besides the official marketing, personal interactions, and show how what we're doing. One more comment, and we got to go
I
on.
was just going to cliche it. If you build it, they will come. I mean, people are reaching out to me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, reaching out to you more now than in day one because they see and their friends have talked about it, and you know, like my guy's going to be in a parade Saturday, and
Yep.
it's pretty cool.
Well, and just one more moment. I didn't realize 2 years, now almost 3 years from when I met in my shop with my friends, where we'd be here today. I didn't realize that we'd have a scout troop of over 30 scouts, a girls troop, and now a venturing crew. Our venturing crew is now 3 months old. I didn't realize that we would be here where we are. And so this is part of my testimony, that in 2.5 years, we've done, it far exceeded what I expected. So once you have those 3 points, well then you got the logistics, right? You got to make a schedule, you got to have a bank account, you got to get some kind of way of tracking the money and financing it. But then the meeting place, we still struggle with that. We meet in my detached garage in our backyard. You mentioned that.
That's what we've had to go back to, because the place we had was perfect, and then they turned it into a used car dealership, you know, and they couldn't have it there. But in Provo, Utah, probably St. George too, parents think if you have to drive more than a half a mile, that, you know, you've left the county.
That's right.
Yeah, but they'll drive, like you said, to Idaho Falls for a soccer tournament.
That's right.
It's more about picking them up so you go home.
Why don't you meet in the Rotary Club?
So that's an ongoing problem. I wish we had more places to meet, but it didn't stop us. I guess that's one of my points. It didn't stop us. We're still looking for ways to make that better, but we're still going. Okay, so we're gonna talk about unit operations. So yesterday we talked about a lot about unit effectiveness. Once you get a unit operating, how do you strengthen it? And we're going to tag team a little bit. First, I put on there routines. It's very important to have routines or a rhythm. You know, a lot of the songs that we do function because there's a rhythm. A lot of the games we do, when you're trying to meet expectations and prove your worth, so to speak, and show the fun and show the activities, you've got to have some kind of consistency and rhythm. Whether it's meeting operations, the way you conduct a meeting, or annual camps. You know, you don't miss a camp. I remember when I was in the church, they said, "Oh, these 11-year-old scouts aren't going to get a camp this year." Well, they'll get it next year. Someone said that. Well, they'll get it next year. Like, well, but they're not 11 next year. You only get an 11-year-old camp once.
Amen.
You've got to establish routines and rhythm. And we talked a lot about yesterday how you don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. There's so many resources. Yes, Carl?
You know, the one thing that, when it comes to the routine, and this is opposite of the church, so I'm still kind of battling this, it's, we are having scouts unless we say we're not having scouts. It's the opposite thinking from the church. So I still have, anytime we have new scouts come in, are we having scouts today? Yes, we're always having scouts unless we say we're not having scouts. And it's just going to happen. It's not the other way. You know, we have to create that standard so they know, oh, it's happening. Just plan on having them be there unless we say, you know, the two biggest guys are at Philmont. We're not having it this week. You know,
and that's been really cool. And in fact, people have shown up at my door when we weren't having scouts because they didn't get the message somehow. You remember that? We've had people ring the door. Why is nobody here?
To me, and it's always been the case, routine builds tradition. Tradition builds expectation. Expectation builds units.
Can you say that one more time?
Builds units. Routine builds tradition. Tradition builds expectation and enthusiasm, and that then builds units.
Exactly right. And, oh, I don't know if I could pull this quote out, but do you remember, what's that? That tradition tells us who we are. Oh, what's that? Tevye from...
Tradition.
Yeah.
Tradition. Tradition.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Fiddler on the Roof, thank you so much. It is important. Okay, the next one is planning. We talked a lot about planning yesterday, so we're not going to do too much on that, but planning is essential. What's the old adage? You fail to plan?
Plan to fail.
You plan to fail, right? And planning, essential. I made the, well, we went through that yesterday, so we'll go to what we didn't get to yesterday, looking sharp. So and then we'll get to communication. So let me put the next slide. Looking sharp, what does this mean?
Your uniforms, of course.
Uniform. So here's a picture of our troop.
Why is Rachel on her phone in the picture? What's going on there?
That's hilarious.
Well, okay, so it was the 2-minute mark to leave, and we discovered that 6 or 8 parents, oh, I forgot this immunization. Oh, I forgot this
We're gonna
one
talk
little
about that in a
slip.
minute.
So they were sending me information on the phone.
During the photo shoot.
During the photo shoot. But our dog is there. He's at every camp.
That's awesome.
That's right. Uniform is so important. You got to look sharp. And we have the girls in red and the boys in blue. We also talked about patrols. We didn't get to talk about patrols yesterday, but when you have a troop of this size, you cannot function without the patrol method. Before, in smaller troops, we sort of got by, didn't we? We just ran a troop as a small patrol, and we didn't, utilizing the patrol method wasn't always emphasized, and we weren't forced to because we were so small. But now when you have a group like this, you cannot. Baden-Powell said there's only one way to run the, I can't, I'm paraphrasing, right? There's only one way to run a troop, and that's with the patrol method. That's right.
There's no Y hats.
Control
in that
method is
picture.
not just the way of doing it, it's the only.
It's the only way of doing it. Thank you, Carl. In fact, I'm going to ask Carl to come up and talk about uniform
I notice there's no Y hats there.
and communication. Is that okay, Carl?
Yeah. So one of the things,
Do you want this?
I think I'm probably all right. I think I'm loud enough. Is everyone? Am I loud enough for everyone?
Yeah.
All right. So I used to be a district commissioner in California, and when I went to camp, one of the most frustrating things for me is I could always know exactly which ones were the church groups, or we'll say the LDS church groups, because they were always the ones that had their shirts untucked, they were unbuttoned, they were wearing basketball shorts, whatever it was, you could always pick them out. They were the only ones that were that way. And that was always frustrating to me, because to me, the uniform is really important. And it creates uniformity. And wearing it properly is crucial to looking the part of a scout and being the part as a scout. And it was really interesting. So the other day, Matt actually invited one of his friends over, because we've been really struggling with this. And we were actually getting really good at it. But then we added about 20 new scouts at the end of the year, and toward the end of the year and last year, and now we're back to the same thing. We have a standard, and there's no basketball shorts, and you tuck your shirt in, and we still have people come with their basketball shirts. They don't, all that kind of things like that. And so we just try to set a standard. We want to be uniform, and for me, I don't need it to be exactly. It doesn't have to be scout pants. It doesn't have to be scout socks, but if it looks like it, there's plenty of cargo shorts out there or cargo pants that look the same color and it looks good. That's perfectly fine, because I understand they're expensive. Sometimes they don't even fit right. So whatever the case may be, as long as we're looking like we're the standard, that's what it is. And so some of the fun things you can do. So we had our picture up there with we had our boys decide what our logo was going to be, or approximately. So for Troop 42, the reason why we have Troop 42 is it has to do with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where 42 is the answer to the universe, everything, the life and everything. So that's why that's why we chose 42. So they decided to use, hey, how can we kind of put that together? They came up, resistance is useless is our motto. And so we kind of have those types of things like that. And then I have a friend who does graphic design and does the t-shirts, and so he kind of put that together. They gave us an idea, we gave it to him, he ran with it, and created this for us. And so let the boys have fun with it and enjoy it. The other thing is to, custom neckerchiefs. This is what we did. This one I just went on to classb.com, and I just picked one that was going to work for us. The boys decided what color it was. They wanted the silver piping with the blue. And this is probably one of our biggest expenses is this. These are like 15 bucks a piece after you've ordered like 40 of them. You have to order like 40 of them, and it's like 15 bucks a piece. This is one of our biggest expenses, but it makes a difference when you're looking at those boys and they're all doing the same thing, or the girls, because the girls, they just put theirs together, and it looks fantastic. They have fun with it. And they can really do a good job. And you can customize those however you like to do it. But it's really about uniform. And I wanted to go back to what I was talking about is Matt the other day invited one of his friends from the National Guard over. He was a Master Sergeant, and it was amazing. I wish we had all our boys there. I wish we had recorded it. But he went through and explained the military uniform. And we're not trying to be the military, but the concepts of the military uniform are so important. And he went through and says, part of my uniform is my pen. I always have a pen. I always have a notebook. I always have, we rattle all these things off. And it's like, well, that's surprising. I didn't really think about that. But he says the reason why we do it is for uniformity, and it's because, and he said that if one of his soldiers if he is wearing his uniform properly, he knows he does not have to worry about him. So that was the biggest key takeaway that I took from it. If he is wearing his uniform properly, he doesn't have to worry about him. All the other stuff falls in place because that shows how much it has an exactness. And I'll take it back to one of the scripture references that they have. So they talked about the people of Ammon. They followed the gospel. They had faith, and they followed it with exactness. So when you look at in the Book of Mormon, the one, each group, and I don't, I like to talk so much, but when you look at all the different people in the Book of Mormon, all the different groups, how they wavered so much, there was one group in the Book of Mormon that lasted longer and more stalwart than any other group, and that was the people of Ammon. Those people lasted the longest because they followed the commandments with exactness. So if we can do the simple thing of just uniforms, and we want them to look nice. We want them to follow where the patches are supposed to go. We want them to do those types. I mean, there is a part, and they'll talk about this, that it's also a part of uniqueness. They think this is kind of unique to us as a person. It shows us what we've earned, those types of things. But we also want to make sure they're not being messy with it. They're just putting patches wherever they feel like they want to do it because we are trying to create that standard. And so that's one of the important things about that. So we are able to personalize, but we wanted to make sure that we're doing a standard with that. So, anything more on you? How do you work with uniforms? How does? Yes, go ahead.
Do you have like a document or like a contract agreement, memorandum of understanding with members that come into the unit that yes, you will get a shirt and yes, you'll get a neckerchief and you agree that you'll...
Yeah, that's step number 2 for us right now. I mean, we have a general understanding and we try to hold that, we bring it out there, but we are working right now kind of our, what do you call it, the
bylaws?
Our bylaws. We've been working on that for quite some time. It's one of those things that's really a challenge. But I think that's very important because if they come in and say that, these are the things that you have to have, and it's great. That's a really good point.
That's actually a great segue into the next section.
Oh, no.
So I don't have a slide on that because we're going to talk about it this morning and this afternoon, but that's communication. One of the essential parts of strengthening a unit is communication. Communication with scouts, communication with families, parents, communication between leaders. And so we're going to touch on that now and this afternoon. But that's one of the first things you have to establish when you when you build a unit and then when you're strengthening a unit. Yes?
So to answer your, my troop, who's been around, I guess you'd call it community troop, they do have a contract, they do have a list of things that the parent has to sign, like a permission slip, and for going on outings and things like that. And in it, we say full uniform. So go from shoes, socks, and up. For my pack, which is what I started 2019, we want them to be belt up because the belt is what they wear their awards on, right? They get belt loops. If they don't have a belt, how are they going to show off their advancement tchotchkes? But yeah, that's one of the things that we haven't set the time to do. And as committee chairman, I should have been working with my COR to do that. But,
yeah, it's a big movement. I mean, it's a shift from what we've been used to in the past, where we're going to be playing basketball after scouts anyway, so I'm just going to throw my shirt on really quick so I can take it off at the end.
Oh,
so. And
one other thing about the uniform, and I don't know if you guys do it, but we have a flag ceremony before every. Well, we had. Now we have a place where we don't have a high enough ceiling to walk with the flagpole, so we just have them put out. But you had to be full uniform to participate in the flag ceremony. And that's a tradition that had gone back, to the Korean War era. In my troop.
Sure. Yeah, the one thing that we do have to be careful of, because in the actual scout requirements, the Scouts BSA specifically says that you cannot require the uniform. It actually says that in there. But but I think that's in there because of, well, it's not exactly worded that way, so please don't.
Finances.
So,
What's the
but
finance?
it has to do with finances, has to do with a lot of different things, and the boys do have, as a senior patrol leader, the Patrol Leaders Council does have some leeway, but there is what a standard is for a scout, and I think we need to try to follow that as best as possible. So what I try to do to try to help minimize that a little bit is, I usually say, if you can wear a belt on your pants, generally it's okay. So if they come with jeans, that's right, unless you're going to do your scout camps or things like that, the specific things that you want the full uniform. If it's just a regular troop night, I'll say, you know, if you can wear your belt on it, if it's cargo pants, even if they're, you know, red cargo pants, whatever it is, if it's a standard where at least you can put a belt on it, it looks like it's at least somewhat close.
Right.
I'm fine with that. It's just, it's the basketball shorts, it's the things like that that just really are not part of a uniform, and they're not even close.
Yeah, jogging pants.
Yeah,
sweat-
sweatpants.
In our troop, the first thing, and it was very easy to do, was to start a uniform bank and to rotate those uniforms.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And
There's
then
ways around it, so.
Yeah, we have like, I'm
Once
sure,
Your uniform, we'll see that it gets laundered and the next person will really enjoy it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. The McIffs have a little spot underneath their stairs. In fact, one of my daughter, we just joined this last week with my daughter to the girl troop. We just walked, before camp, we just went over to their house. We found one that worked, and it, you know, it saved me $40. So, and she's gonna grow out of it in 6 months, so we're gonna have to go buy another one anyway. But that is great to have that kind of rotating thing. You know, once you're done with it, bring it back. And that does help solve that problem. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that. So there's a lot of ways around that.
I just want to add the looking sharp thing. When you take them out in public, if they look sharp, people are impressed. If they do not, it is a bad look on scouting. And so when I take my scouts to Costco, everyone makes a big fuss over those kids. We're walking through and we went to the food court and I said, you get one thing. You can choose a hot dog and a drink, or you can get pizza, no drink. Every people came out of the woodwork, I'll buy you a drink, everyone, I think all these kids, everything they want. I'm like, yeah, my budget's smaller, I do this regularly.
I'll have to start doing that on a regular basis. You can't have a drink, Evelyn.
But that is where people come in, and where's your organization? How can, I mean, I've had people just give us money, like, here's $20 for your troop. I mean, just for walking around Costco in uniform.
Yeah. I know we're kind of running low on time. So is there anyone that has any challenges that they either have, that they've either overcome, or they want to bring up before the group, or anything like that, that just to help kind of, as we can move along?
So back in 2019, as we were looking prospectively forward, there were some ideas that we might work with, especially in the West, state legislators and whatnot. It would be so great if we could use a school. But, and of course, we're allowed by law to use the school, but they're also allowed to charge for it, which we can't afford, you know, week after week to pay that. That's really without the major dues. Is there anything we can do to help? Especially Utah. Why in the world couldn't we get legislators to put together and say, for certain community institutions you can't charge, for certain, you know, basic ones? Is there anyone that's been working on that, or anything we've done?
A comment. In the 3 units I work with as a unit commissioner, they went to the PTA, and because the PTA was the organization of that school, then they allowed us to use that facility without a price, because we had sold us to the PTA president and they agreed to be our chartered organization. That was really key and not have to pay.
What state are you in?
719?
Logan.
Oh, Logan.
I wonder if it's the district superintendent or who, because it's not at the building level that they let us make this decision.
Ours is at the building level, we use a school.
And you're in Utah?
I'm in Utah, we use a school, we don't pay. Now, if we have a big banquet or something that's really late in the night, then we pay for our cleaning, but we don't pay week after week to use the school.
Wow, that's good to know. So there's some Utah schools that are letting them do it for free.
Yes,
What
yes, we're in
school?
northern Utah, but we do use the schools.
And it's through the people. It's through the PTA or it's through
It is because
someone.
a lot of our kids go to the school, And so we went to
My
the
wife
principal.
teaches at the school, I volunteered.
Oh.
And they've said no.
So we use a school every week, so we
They
don't
always
pay.
charge, because we can't
St.
differentiate
George.
between you and someone else.
Sunset.
The Lamb's Chapel doctrine, you
Sunset
can't
and
say, we won't charge you, but we will charge you. And by the way, they're
Sure,
probably in
what
legal
school?
peril by not charging some and
We
charging others.
use Riverdale Elementary.
That's true.
So I'm glad you're getting it done, but I worry, I wish we could get up there, just a small legislative change.
All right.
All right. Great, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
To segue, we're going to talk about communication and then online resources. And again, we've got to show what we're doing. And we're going to talk more about communication this afternoon. I just wanted to touch on Scout Book. How many people love Scout Book? How many people hate Scout Book?
I used to really love Scout Book.
I appreciate that we can post things in there, but boy, there's some user interface there.
Yeah, I think the point is there are uses of Scout Book. What's that?
We asked a
I thought you were
question.
talking about the Scout handbook, aren't you?
Oh,
He said, what is Scout Book?
we found that Scout Book initially I just used it for the tracking of advancements, but then realized how many other features it has that are useful. It's still not perfect, so we use a GroupMe text program. I don't know who, for more instantaneous communication.
Ruby is great.
Yeah, GroupMe's been very, very
You can
useful.
put a calendar item and people can mark if they're going or not.
Yeah.
That's that feature is good.
So I felt like
Instant
just
communication.
for one-way communication, when I need to post something, a calendar or their advancements, because I hated getting calls. So what does my son need again? No, you should check Scout Book. I can't just tell you all the time what they need to earn or whatever. So Scout Book is a very good one-way communication where you post. And recently I discovered the payment log feature. Because I was trying to track payments and everything and for Scout Camp and dues and everything, and I created this nice spreadsheet. I used all my skills from college and I made this spreadsheet and I handed it out. But then it was out of date, and then they couldn't get real-time information. I thought, well, gosh, Scout Book will do this. I have to put it in there, that now people can check how much they owe, what they've paid. Yeah, it's work on my end, but it saves it on the back end where they don't keep calling me, or I don't have to call them like, hey, we still need a payment for Scout Camp. So there's some really good features with Scout Book for that one-way communication. But more instantaneous communication, GroupMe is a great app. There are other forms of that where you need to communicate really, really well. But I think the other point was made, if expectations and rhythm is going to be achieved, you need to communicate well. And if they're, well, I'll leave it at that because it'll go right into online communication and marketing of your troop, which I'll turn the time over to Mike whenever you're ready.
Yep. Okay.
How many have a website?
No, we use a Facebook page.
You use a Facebook page and a website?
We have one.
You have both?
We have a group me and a.
Okay, yeah, so a Facebook page is really useful. I'll talk a little bit about why I think a website is also important. So we found we get people, so basically, if you're not promoting your troop online, you're missing out on a huge marketing opportunity for your troop and for scouting in general. So if someone already knows that they're interested in scouting, they probably are going to, if they ask anyone that at the council or anywhere, they're going to tell them, okay, go to beascout.org and find a troop. So if someone goes to beascout.org, and this is our neighboring zip code, luckily, if they search for, well, our zip code is tiny.
Look who's number one.
Well, you're number one, but Gary, I have some news for you. I have some news for you, Gary.
Okay.
You're the first one on there, but there's no info here about how to join or what the troop is or what the troop does or anything. There's nothing.
And we're still number one.
But you're gonna scroll down here and they're gonna find, so the next troop allows online, but there's no no other info, it's not very useful. Come down here, these guys have a number, name, a website down in down by Pleasant Grove. These guys, oftentimes the website will just take you to the council website, which isn't very useful either, utahscouts.org. If you come down a little bit more, you find, let's see, there we are, Troop 20. So there's some weird guy's name, number, and a website. So you can go to this website and say, what's this troop about? What do they do? So we just use the Google Sites. It's super easy. Any parent, actually any youth could even update the site and edit it. Really easy. We have some info right here about our next recruiting night, or our next, every spring we have like a family camp out where the whole family, the Cub Scout pack, everyone's invited. And then speaking of Scout Book, we have a calendar tied into our Scout Book calendar. And so parents are like, what kind of stuff do these guys do? They can scroll through here and see our upcoming activities, see what's going on. We have like just some basic info here listed, and of course, allow scouts to earn the LDS Vanguard Religious Award. Anyway, that links to our Facebook page and other places. And some important info that is really useful to have on a website is stuff about joining. I'll need to update the next open house. And then oftentimes when people inquire about our troop, I send them to this link. This page, this spells out all of our fees, our uniform policy, how we go on campouts, how the campouts are paid for, our upcoming summer camp and those costs and what to expect with that, how we do fundraising, and anyway, our policies on how we require a parent to be involved somehow. Anyway, so a website is really useful, so you can always have someone or have a link to send to a parents about just the basic details about joining our troop. And the reason why this is more useful than a Facebook page is you're going to come across some people who just don't do Facebook. It's going to be a small number, but they're out there. And so the website is really nice because they don't have to have Facebook or not. They're going to be able to get to this page. And then the next thing I want to talk about.
Well, I think the website's great for static information.
Yes.
Like you said, here's the feed, like that stuff doesn't change.
Yep.
So that's really big.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Does BSA have guidelines on what you can put on a website or a Facebook page?
The only guidelines I know of are permission for photos of youth. I don't know of any other.
But it's like, you're asking how you like create it or what to put on.
No, I'm concerned about the content. I know
Yeah.
photos, but is there any parameters of what you can put on? Or
Like if you take graphics, use the BSA logo, things
the
like
nice
that that you're
thing
held
is-
liable.
well, can you use BSA?
Yes,
logo?
BSA has a huge marketing
I don't know, I
website
was
with
just-
stock images, photos, logos. You can use all that to promote scouting and promote your unit.
And they're high resolution vector graphics.
Yeah,
You just
they're
need a
awesome.
permission slip to use their pictures and.
Yep.
As example.
And so, let me
Mike,
switch.
how difficult is it to, like, cut and paste or copy or start button so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel?
It's a great question.
I have great advice on that for another topic.
Yeah.
Like if anyone wants to talk about it. I
Yeah,
can come
so
up with free-
a nice thing is
or you can go with
because
free
our
They
website,
give you templates and you fill it out yourself.
that's a great idea. Especially with Google Sites, which we're using for ours, you can easily duplicate our website. Yeah, so if anyone wants to kind of just take our website template and duplicate it, it'd be super easy to just say, create a copy, give it to Gary, boom, now you have your own website. You can change everything you want, but the
Right.
template's there.
Did you say that your website automatically downloads your Scout Book calendar?
Yes.
That's awesome. Is that hard
You
to
see the
do?
light bulbs go off above Matt's head?
So right here on our homepage, you come here, and it's a Google Calendar widget you can put right there on any web page, and it pulls in the calendar from Scout Book. So you don't have to do anything else, just put stuff in Scout Book, and boom, it's on your website.
That's if
any-
you know how to do it.
Yeah, which I can help you with that, it's not bad.
If you're a
Um,
service project, we send you home with a website. Order number one has,
Gary, I
You
would
may
make that
be
for
one
you.
of
Yeah, I'm kind of
Remind
on
you
your
to
jet a little
him.
bit,
Yeah.
so.
So a website is really useful for people that they know they want to join. You can get that link to them easily, you can send them the info, they can find it on viascout.org. Another great way to promote your unit is through social media online. This is our troop Facebook page, Highland Alpine Troop 20. We got some pictures up here, this is our last,
That's to the world, and you've got releases from the parents on their kids' faces?
yes. Yeah, we only had one problem with one other scout who's not in these pictures where they had a divorce, no, he's adopted, and they didn't want his photo online but
Yeah, there are
beyond
some
him, the
people
parents are
out there.
very happy to,
Complicated problems.
yeah.
We try to take pictures of the adults with the kids' faces.
Yeah, and there are some phone apps out there now that will, yeah, so if you take a picture and there's any boys in the group that you know don't want their photos online, there's really easy ways to just tap it and it just blurs out faces and then problem solved. But speaking of uniforms, yeah, we love to get everyone wearing our troop t-shirt all the time, and they all have them, but it's not as easy as it sounds. This is before the Alpine Parade last year. You had a group that was in the parade. Anyway, so you come here and get a little glimpse of some of the cool stuff that our troop does. You can scroll
You're
down.
capturing the right photos.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I want to join, I want to
Yep.
participate.
I want to join already.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
And they're real photos, they're you
Yeah, these are,
guys.
yeah,
They're,
it's not just stock
you know,
photos.
Yeah, it's
And so,
perfect.
yeah, we have our historian as well as the adults will often take photos and we'll get them submitted. And then we get them up here on our Facebook page. And yeah, so almost every activity we're taking photos. I mean, some of these recent ones are amazing from our high adventure, but before that, we had our camp out, just playing 9 square. You can just see activity we went rappelling.
Hey, your son was wearing that same outfit today.
I'm sure he was.
I know exactly who that is.
Backpacking to the hot springs.
It's awesome.
And I
Um,
will say, to answer your question,
Was it honey? Speak up so we can hear.
to answer his concern, I will say if there's a kind of iffy, like that one of the boys in the pool, the front and center one is our own pin. I'm okay with that. And then, does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's
Anyway, got
discretion.
service projects,
So I definitely use discretion in.
serving in the library, and
That's so good.
anyway, yeah, so we wish we get them all the time wearing the uniform properly, and we're working on that. Anyway, but then the cool thing here with social media is this is a public Facebook page, so anyone can come and see this stuff. But you want to train the other adults in the troop. So when you have a really cool, well, almost any post that they can share, but some posts are like, this is amazing. Yeah, so you have a little write-up here about our high adventure. We have 34 plus photos. Yeah, we were at Zion. Anyway, and so this one has been, yeah, just a little bit of info about social media. The more people who like or comment on it, the more likely that Facebook is going to start showing that to other people who are like friends of friends of friends. So they may not even be the person who liked it, but if they're like, if you and Bob are friends and Bob liked it, then this other friend who also knows you and Bob might see that.
Because you have it public.
Yep. And then also, the cool thing here is you can see that people have shared it and who they are. Yeah, so I've shared it. And the great thing about sharing a public Facebook page post like this is that then when people see it, like for example, let's go over to my, oh, let's see it. We go straight to it here. So when you come and look at, yeah, so if someone comments on this post, so this is what I added about my personal note on this post. People come down here and they can see, oh, this post is from Highland Alpine Troop 20. And then if they want to see more about Highland Alpine Troop 20, then boom, now they're at our unit's Facebook page. And they
That's
can,
really cool.
which also has a link to the website and everything else.
Are you
on it.
getting interest from parents and scouters through your messenger?
Yeah.
Are they contacting through Facebook Messenger?
We do get some, yeah, we get text, emails, Facebook
You
Messenger.
have multiple ways
Yep.
or
And
channels.
the nice thing about this is we get new scouts that find out about this and join, but it also just promotes scouting in general. Like all of the grandparents that I know from everywhere that I've lived my entire life, I'm Facebook friends with them, and we get lots of likes and comments from them. And I know that they are telling their grandkids or nephews and nieces about scouting isn't dead, because they see it online all the time because I'm promoting it through Facebook. And, oh, you have that comment, huh?
A big takeaway I had from Matt last time we were here is adventure. Show them adventure and they'll come. So we have made adventure a big part of posting on here.
Well, it's a big part of your program.
It's a
All
big
you're
part of
doing
it.
is showcasing that part of your program.
Yeah.
That's what people see.
That's what they
People
see.
said it earlier, like, I want to be, and so did
Yeah.
Michelle, I want to be part of that.
It's good.
Yep. So we have a lot of adventure. I mean, if you scroll down on the Facebook page, you're gonna see pictures of the boys sitting in a cool office conference room doing the fingerprinting merit badge. This doesn't sound very exciting, but you add a little blurb about how much fun the boys had and solving the mystery of, like, at the end, the counselor had a mystery adult's fingerprints on a glass, and they had to take all the adults' fingerprints afterwards and figure out who was the guilty guy that touched the glass for whatever evidence it was from. Anyway, you kind of add some of those things, and all of a sudden it becomes interesting. But I just want to mention how important it is to have an online presence and how this can help your unit and also scouting in general just to promote it. Because people, the other thing I mentioned is if you have a post that's getting more interaction or it's more awesome than your average post, it's really cheap. It's like you can spend 10, 15, 20 bucks and tell Facebook to promote that just to people in this little tiny geographic area that your boys are from. And then all of a sudden, anyone on Facebook is going to start seeing that post show up in their feed. Like, oh wait, there's a troop here in our area, and it's really cheap to advertise it that way too. Anyway, that's all I had.
Thanks, Mike. I think that last point is worth repeating. It will not only help your unit, but it'll help other units and scouting in general. I think that's a really great point.